A pleasant good morning from the nation's capital in Monrovia. A pleasant welcome to NewsNet. 45 minutes of news about Liberia, Africa, and our one world. Today is the 1st of June, and I'm Olive Stevenson anchoring this edition. This newscast is relayed on the Voice of Hope in Plebo, Sodican, Maryland County. In our headlines, health system continues to be heavily challenged on appropriate government. Report says health workers at St. Timothy Government Hospital in Grand Cape Mount County demand purchase of fuel and small battery-powered Chinese light before offering service. Uncertainty hangs over conduct of by-elections. Pro-democracy group threatens to challenge the legality of the legislative joint resolution for the conduct of the by-elections for Mansurato and Bonk. Some election losers to win something at all costs. Senator Van Sherman makes controversial proposal to Senate that will see presidential run-up becoming senator or representative. And away from Liberia, Uganda's parliament has passed a law to impose a controversial tax on people using social media platform. Our top stories, the news bulletin, the actual voices of those making the news, including sports and some developments, and your text reaction coming into our program or coming up shortly. We're taking a very quick break. Welcome back to NewsNet. Up next is the Bulletin of News and Augustine, Kollie. Good morning, Augustine.
Good morning, Olive. Good morning, everyone. Reports say the only public referral hospital in Liberia's western region, Grand Cape Mount County, has been in darkness for 3 months, something that has alarmed people in that area. According to Public Trust News, health workers are forced to use torchlight at night to carry on delivery and other operations at the hospital, which is 140 kilometers from Monrovia. Residents of the provincial capital, Rabosports, have frowned at the county's authorities and lawmakers for allowing the St. Timothy Government Hospital to remain in darkness for such a protracted period, creating a nightmare for the locals. A resident in Rabosports, Benu Masale, told local reporters that health workers at the St. Timothy Government Hospital demanded her to buy a small battery-powered Chinese light before her ill daughter could be attended to. Some patients seeking medication at the health facility, especially cases that require surgery, are told to buy fuel for the generator in order for doctors at the hospital to address their health concerns. When contacted, nursing director at the hospital, Amin Sambola, refused to comment on grounds that she was very busy with other activities. But the administrator of the St. Timothy Government Hospital is assuring citizens of the county of the hospital willingness to provide quality health care delivery services to the people of Grand Cape Mount County. In an interview with local reporters at Radio Piso, Aaron Masale disclosed that the hospital recently received 2 drums of fuel from the Ministry of Health that will provide electricity for the hospital for about 2 months. Mr. Masale told reporters that the government, through the Ministry of Health, has also provided some funding for the operation of the hospital, but fell short of indicating the amount provided. He said the hospital administration main focus is to purchase an inverter for solar lighting at the hospital. The Elections Coordinating Committee has threatened to challenge the legality of a legislative joint resolution for the conduct of the by-elections in Mansurato and Bonk counties. The ECC in a release Thursday said it is opposed to the passage of a joint resolution to serve as a legal framework for by-elections and called on the national legislature not to pass any such resolution because it is unconstitutional. The release noted that to use a joint resolution to conduct the by-election will constitute an amendment to Article 37, which is a breach of the law because an amendment to the Constitution can only be done through a national referendum as contained in Article 91. According to the ECC, joint resolutions are subordinate to the Constitution and, if passed into law, will contravene Article 2 of the Constitution, that is the foundation of the rule of law. Meanwhile, the ECC has clarified that the facts and circumstances that prevailed in 2014 do not exist in 2018 that would require a joint resolution to conduct this year's by-elections outside of the constitutional period. The nature of the virus did not create the environment for holding a free, fair, and transparent election. The release added, as a result, the National Legislature approved a joint resolution 002 to suspend the October 14, 2014 special senatorial elections. At the same time, the ECC says it is disappointed that some political parties under the banner of the Inter-Party Consultative Committee are seeking unconstitutional means to address constitutional matters. The ECC reminded Liberians that the consolidation of peace and security is dependent upon adherence to the rule of law. It said to conduct this by-election using a joint resolution is a dangerous precedent for our democracy that all well-meaning Liberians must not encourage. Grand Cape County Senator Vernon Sherman has submitted a proposal to the Senate plenary seeking to amend Articles 45 and 48 of the Liberian Constitution. Senator Vernon Sherman in his proposal said the amendment of Articles 45 and 48 of the Liberian Constitution will give the opportunity to the runner-up of any presidential election to serve as senator and representative of the state respectively. He indicated in his communication that such individuals holding said positions will be given the needed opportunity stipulated under the Constitution of Liberia. According to the communication, an individual who came second to the leading candidate in any presidential election can always obtain more votes than a sitting senator or representative. Liberian Senate Secretary Nambala Singh read the communication in Thursday's section. Legal proceedings have commenced in the case involving a police officer of the police support unit who allegedly killed a man for a cap. Officer Papi Vinton, who was inducted in June 2017, is accused of willfully causing the death of John Albert in May 2017. According to the indictment, defendant Vinton allegedly hit victim Albert at the back of his neck with a stick. The victim reportedly died after he went unconscious and was rushed at the John F. Kennedy Medical Hospital. A counselor at law who is entangled in a child support case has filed a bill of information to the Magisterial Court at the Temple of Justice to reduce his child support fees. In the bill of information, Councillor Michael Dix said $400 is too high and could impose economic constraint that would expose him and the rest of the family to hardship. Dix asserted that in January, when the judge ruled that he paid said amount to Melissa Blai, he was fully employed as the legal consultant at the Ministry of Public Works, but said contract has been terminated. According to Councillor Dix, since the pronouncement by the judge, he has since paid $1,520 within 3 months. Councillor Dix was dragged to court by Madam Blay when he allegedly denied the child and refused to pay child support. Based on his assertion, a DNA was reportedly carried out which resulted proof to 99.9% that the child was his. The Speaker of the Liberian Children Parliament has condemned the alleged raping of 2 girls by a 50-year-old man identified as Vinen Boto Kruman in Grand Cape County. The girls between the ages of 10 and 12 years had reportedly left Monrovia to visit their aunt in the county when their uncle allegedly carried out the act. Jutumo Doten told the station Thursday that the alleged perpetrator committed the act on May 12 and has since escaped to Sierra Leone, leaving the victims in a critical situation at a local hospital. He said suspect Kruman is in the constant habit of perpetrating evil against the children of Liberia and escaping to Sierra Leone, evidenced by his repeated rape actions in 2012 and 2017. The Speaker of the Liberia Children Parliament is at the same time calling on government of Sierra Leone to arrest suspect Vinen Boto Kruman. Commenting further, Speaker Joto Mondoten reiterated called for the 54th legislature not to amend the rape law of Liberia to a billable offense. Montserrat District System Representative has described as economic and monetary sabotage the refusal of BVAC and APM Terminal to accept Liberian dollars doing business transaction. Representative Dixon Seaboat's section is in furtherance of a previous communication of bombing lawmaker Edwin Snow complaining the two institutions about their refusal to accept Liberian dollars doing business transaction. According to the Montserrat County lawmaker, the violation warrants a contempt charge against the two institutions. He added that since the Liberian dollars is the legal tender in the country, it should be accepted by any institution doing business transaction. Representative Sebo added that the alleged refusal is creating an unbearable situation for business individuals to obtain the United States dollars in different ways for business transaction. The lawmaker maintained that the legislature invites the parties involved to show reasons why they should not be held in contempt. But a motion by Nema County Representative Jeremiah Kung has requested a leadership committee to appear Monday for the hearing. The chairman of the House of Representatives Committee on Agriculture, Representative Prince Tokba, has alarmed over bad labor and inhuman practices, including a breach of the Firestone Company agreement. Representative Tokba, defending his Agriculture Committee report in plenary Thursday, cited poor living and electricity constraints for employees, on-payment, intercropping, among others, at the company. According to him, the committee also established an increase in teenage pregnancy at the plantation and the alleged cropping of cocoa, including the manufacturing of furniture being exported by the company. The Nema County lawmaker questioned whether these practices are contained in the company's agreement. For his part, a representative of Maigibi County, Tabarossa Tampoe, maintained that while the investment of Firestone is laudable, there exist issues of neglect and abuse by the company against its employees. Representative Tampoe added that Firestone as a company would not protect government and Liberians in their employs if government fails to protect their rights. Meanwhile, a motion by Representative Jim Smith of Montserrat County has mandated the House's committees on judiciary, contracts, agriculture, and labor, including representatives of Maigibi District 1, 2, and 3, and Montserrat District 1, as resource officers to investigate all allegations. The House of Representatives has mandated its Judiciary Committee to probe allegations that the Ministry of Foreign Affairs tampered with the law passed by the legislature. The decision was reached after the House's Commerce Committee reported on its stakeholders' engagement for a better legislative oversight investigation. Presenting its report, the committee's chairman, Representative Samuel Koga, told plenary Thursday that the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, while printing the amended Investment Act into handbills, allegedly tampered with it. The report, among other things, captured how the 1973 Investment Act, repealed in 2010, gave exclusive right to the Liberianization policy of government. The policy gives exclusive right to Liberians in the business sector to control retailing across the country. Representative Koka revealed that the new version authored by the Foreign Affairs Ministry also suits foreign investors into the retailing market. However, a motion by Representative B.N. Howard encouraged the plenary to mandate its Judiciary Committee to look into the allegation of how the law was allegedly tampered with. Report from Bong County says a traditional charm allegedly buried in the compound of the Phoebe Community Lutheran High School has finally been removed and burned. The report also states that though the items were dug out by two native doctors on Wednesday, the students are still insisting that the principal and other administrators be replaced. Students of the Phoebe Community Lutheran High School locked the fence of the institution early Tuesday morning on grounds that administrators hired a native doctor to plant a traditional charm in the compound in pursuit of exposing suspects who allegedly stole 20 pieces of laptops from their lab. According to the students, the replacement of the administrators who masterminded the entry of the native doctor on the campus would help them learn on a peaceful atmosphere. At the same time, calm has been restored at the Cottington University in Swakoko District. Calm returned after the Cottington Board of Trustees suspended Dr. Hammer Brown until talks had finalized. Meanwhile, Father James Tamber, the university's Dean of Theology, now serves as interim president. And Algerian authorities have seized more than 700 kilograms of cocaine smuggled on board a container ship and made 20 arrests. The vessel was carrying frozen meat from Brazil and had previously docked in Valencia, Spain. It was due to offload in Algeria's western port of Oran, but suspicions were raised when the captain refused to dock for 3 days. Acting on a tip-off, the Algerian Coast Guard forced the boat into port. The drugs were then found on board the Liberian registered ship, the Vega Mercurial, in boxes marked Hala Meat. Those were stories contained in the news bulletin.
We would like to say many thanks to you, Augustine Kollie, for filling us in with the latest from our news center. Well, if you're just tuning in, the program you're listening to is Newsnet on OKFM 99.5. Stories we follow in this morning. Health system continues to be heavily challenged on a pro-poor government. Report says health workers at St. Timothy Government Hospital in Grand Cape Mount County demand purchase of fuel and small battery-powered Chinese lights before offering service. Uncertainty hangs over conduct of by-elections. Pro-democracy group threatens to challenge the legality of the legislative joint resolution for the conduct of by-elections for Montserrado and Bon counties. Some election losers to win something at all costs. Senator Varney Chairman makes controversial proposal to Senate that will see presidential runoff becoming senator or representative. And away from Liberia, Uganda's parliament has passed a law to impose a controversial tax on people using social media platform. With that, we take our first development. National Port Authority Acting Managing Director Cecilia Coffey-Brown says the NPA has begun robust processes to reduce the bureaucracy at the free port of Monrovia. Speaking at a one-day mapping and reviewing of import processes organized by the Ministry of Commerce and Industry Thursday, the NPA Acting Managing Director further noted that her institution is currently engaging the APM terminal to reduce the number of days intended to clear products from the port of Monrovia.
The process for getting your goods cleared through custom is already there. But the obstacle for clearing your goods in time comes from two groups of people. The unscrupulous LRA worker, if there's one, and also the business people. And I wish the business people were here. Because when there's a system in place and we don't adhere to the system because of what we would get, personally, you impede the entire process. When we first took over 4 months ago, the National Port Authority called together all stakeholders, custom brokers, truckers union, LRA, and we have had these meetings. But remember, the National Port Authority is an enabling, authority. However, the willpower to change the way we do things had to do with the collaboration of the government institutions or agencies that were. When we first took over, we called all of our stakeholders together because every time you listen to radio, you had the consumers were screaming, the importers, everybody screaming, and we had to do something about it. So we called everybody to meeting. I did my own observation.
National Port Authority Acting Managing Director Cecilia Coffey-Brown. Speaking earlier, Commerce and Industry Minister Wilson Tapper said the mapping and reviewing of import processes was intended to sort out ways in addressing the challenges faced by importers of commodities to Liberia.
What this process means to all of us. Liberia imported $1.1 billion in terms in 2017. Less than 1/3 of that, approximately $300 million, was the equivalent of our export. And that tells you that there is a huge imbalance, meaning we imported more than we exported. That balance continues to create a problem. We also estimate from the Ministry of Commerce that portion of that input, which includes CIF and processing before it gets to the point of sale, at least 10 to 15% of that represent cost here.
Commerce and Industry Minister Wilson Tape. Following the holding of a 2-day educational summit in Kakata, Margibi County, the Ministry of Education has uncovered several factors affecting smooth learning across the country. According to Deputy Education Minister Elton Kollie, most schools in the country lack qualified teachers, laboratories, and libraries. He spoke Thursday at the Ministry of Information weekly press briefing in Monrovia.
But then looking at the challenges, how difficult they are, we say, look, no matter how brilliant you are, how good you are, it takes more than a single set of people to solve problems. So we decided to call all stakeholders, major stakeholders, educational experts to Kakata, Margibi County, and that was the purpose of the summit. So at that summit, we had over 300 delegates to the summit. In fact, the summit was created by His Excellency President George Manneh Weah. In the summit, there were remarks made. His Excellency President George Manneh Weah recommitted his administration to provide quality education for Liberians. He stated clearly that education remains the priority of this government, and so we received that message, and he encouraged us to keep working hard, and that we're going to provide all. Then we have remarks from the Minister of Education. He provided our agenda, our priorities, the way we go about solving the challenges facing the education sector, and then we listen to stakeholders, we listen to donors and other supporting partners. So they presented remarks. Then the highlight of the summit came about, that was panel discussion. So there was about 6 thematic areas that were discussed. Among them, we have professionalization of teachers and certification of teachers. We have the learning environment. We have something about monitoring, evaluation, and supervision. We have another panel discussion on education financing.
Elton Kollie is the Deputy Education Minister. Several students in Bomi County on Thursday kicked off a voluntary blood donation exercise. The blood donation exercise is intended to save the lives of patients who may be in need of blood at various health facilities in the county. Our correspondent in Bomi County is Kollie, and he has the detail.
Well, the blood donation exercise started yesterday evening, wherein a student of a various school was from the Central High School, that of the Bomi Junior High School. And it started where students they are there donating blood according to the order Safe Lab. And I spoke with the deputy blood bank manager, one period Joe. He said that this process has been happening over the years, wherein they've been going to various schools in order for students, most students from those various schools, to donate blood to various health facilities within the county. So they are there today, and today will be the end of this entire process for Bomi County, and also they are there donating blood for the health care of those that are then sick at various hospital and they need blood.
Kollie is our Bomi County correspondent. A Deputy Labor Minister for Manpower Planning and Development has called for collective efforts in ending human trafficking in Liberia. Deputy Minister Phil Tape Dixon said human trafficking is a major issue, and as such, a baseline should be developed to tackle such problems. The Deputy Labor Minister spoke in Buchanan, Grandbasel County Thursday during the start of action plan to stop human trafficking in the country.
Excited, proud, and glad that last president who was chosen by the president is my friend, brother, and community struggle. A great honor to stand by. Thank you for joining us. On behalf of the minister, he always chair for the task force on the anti-trafficking activities of our country. We want to say thanks to all of you who left whatever other schedule you had to come here. I'm not saying your ages get it because they give you an idea for training. You are here to be mentally engaged, you are here to put your best, and you are also here to help Liberia to go one step forward.
Deputy Labour Minister for Manpower, Planning and Development, Minister Phil Tapper Dixon. Some commercial drivers plying the refurbished Somalia Drive Road have welcomed the opening of Phase 1 of the road project by President George Weah. Speaking Thursday to this station, the driver said the completion of Phase 1 of the road project would not only ease traffic congestion, but reduce the time spent commuting from one place to another. The drivers who alluded to overcharging passengers further noted that the price of gasoline, if not addressed sooner, may lead to crisis.
Yes, if government attack the gasoline price, then the rate of the passenger cost of transportation will come down. Because if the gasoline drop, immediately prices for transportation will come down. It can go up. You see, we need to buy gas for $2.25. 200, 225, 265, 285 until it went to 300, 365 until it go to 400, 485. Now it's 500. You find the total gas station have the gasoline there for 485. But at time you go to total gas station, you don't get the gas from there. So you have to buy from the can ball. And the can ball say gas for 500, 550. So that's $600. You understand it? You force to buy where you want to go, where you want to go. You go not wait for the man to say reducing price before you can buy the gas where you can go. And so that's why you don't find the gas anywhere. Besides that one man, you force to buy. So there's a problem. So if government go into the prices of the gasoline, then immediately the citizen as a whole will get access to transportation. It'll be fine.
Well, it was too tough for us to even go to Right Light, so now we spend 2-3 hours. But for now, I can assure you within 30 minutes time, you can be in Right Light. There are two things we face with now. The road is free flow. So for the reason to really get the passenger is high. And based upon that, we are not getting the money we're supposed to generate to even get 1 gallon to go Right Light and come back. That's the problem. We are certified as a driver for the road to be free. But really, the road free and we cannot get a passenger. So we also, I think it will be necessary for the gas price to come down for us. Yeah, we are trying to appeal to the president to find all necessary means in his presidential experience to see how best he can, trace the price of the gasoline.
Some commercial drivers plying their Somalia Drive refurbished road there, speaking to our reporter. Montserrat District 16 representative has described as economic and monetary sabotage the refusal of BVAC and APM terminal to accept Liberian dollars doing business transaction. Representative Dixon Seaboard's section is in furtherance of a previous communication of bombing lawmaker Edwin Snow complaining the two institutions about their refusal to accept Liberian dollars doing business transaction. According to the Montserrat County lawmaker, the violation warrants a contempt charge against the two institutions.
Following the investigative hearing, the committees concluded with the institutions, among several recommendations, that they immediately start to receive Liberian dollars for transaction, noting that Liberian dollar is an official legal tender in our country. It is also important to note that the committee's report was presented to plenary, subsequently endorsed and shared with the institutions. In the face of the recommendations that were sanctioned by plenary, BVAC and APM terminal have still refused to accept Liberian dollars for transaction. Their action is not only a blatant gross insubordination to this honorable house, but amounts to contempt. We, as the deputies of the people, must be respected, and the action being displayed by BVAC and APM terminals goes beyond disrespectfulness.
Montserrat District 16 Representative Dixon Seaboard. But a motion by Nimba County Representative Jeremiah Cohn has requested the Leadership Committee to appear Monday for the hearing.
The delicate nature of this matter, I will move in a second to the leadership the plenary take seize of this matter, look in depth and make appropriate decisions that I get a second.
That's a motion by Nimba County Representative Jeremiah Kuhn. The chairman of the House of Representatives Committee on Agriculture, Representative Prince Tokwa, has alarmed over bad labor and immune practices, including a breach of the Firestone Company agreement. Representative Tokwa, defending his Agriculture Committee report in plenary Thursday, cited poor living and electricity constraints for employees, underpayment, intercropping, amongst others, at the company. The Nimba County lawmaker questions whether these practices are contained in the company's agreement.
At the camp, the first and foremost things we saw is that the tappers are living in complete darkness. Secondly, we found out that the living condition there is poor. Most of the houses that they live in, you found out that the wall has broken, no cement on the ground, and very, very poor, very, very deplorable. Number three, workers that are there are underpaid. Most of them told us that by 5:30 a.m. they are forced to leave their beds to walk 1 hour 30 minutes to go to their various sites to work, and they remain to work up to 6 to 7 in the evening. At the nursery site, you found out that the people are not protected. Over 200 workers are working at their nursery site, and they only use the rain gear. Whenever it rains on them. There is no shelter. Whenever sun shines, the sun shines on them. They are not protected. One major thing they told us.
Representative Prince Tokwa is the chairman of the House of Representatives Committee on Agriculture. For his part, a representative of Margibi County, Tabarosa Tapowe, mentioned that while the investment of Firestone is laudable, there exists issues of neglect and abuse by the company against its employees.
While we appreciate the partnership of Firestone, we all know, we all grew up with Firestone in this country, there are issues of neglect and abuse. Like we face with the Sandabi issue when we talk about contract employees who are held perpetually to just work. Then when they are hurt, or the management can dismiss them at will. These are our people. Firestone cannot protect them if we as government and people of this country cannot stand for them. This is where we are. The issue at Sandabi pales in comparison to what happened in Firestone. Most of their employees, contrary to what the managing director said in the conference room, are contract workers with no benefits. We heard about teenage pregnancy. These things are so because most of those contract employees, most of the contract workers, their dependents, are not entitled to health benefits and education. So they are left to return to 18 and 21 to go and tap.
Tabarosa Tapowe is the representative of Margibi County. Meanwhile, a motion by Representative Jimmy Smith of Montserrat County has mandated the House's committees on judiciary, contracts, agriculture, and labor, including representative of Margibi Districts 1, 2, 3, and Montserrat District 1, as resources officers to investigate the allegation. The committees, according to Representative Smith, will report in the period of 2 weeks.
Having digested the work of the Committee on Agriculture, that the categories of contracts which has to do with definite and indefinite contracts should be considered Judiciary Committee on Contracts, that this case be brought forward to be adjudicated based on the committee I just named to intervene. By that, we will be addressing the underlying cause here, which is contract. Be patient now. When you're talking commerce, you take the whole flow. So sometimes we are talking different. The premise of this motion is for us to comprehend what is contract, the types of contracts. Honorable, to the motion, please. So I move, if I can get a second, that this be passed over to the judicial and contracts to be looked into. Thank you.
Representative Jimmy Smith of Montserrat County. Let's now take some of your text reaction coming into our Facebook page. And this one says, good morning, OKFM, and good morning to the peace-loving people of Liberia. I'm George Xavier Namwe, and I write from the most represented district in Montserrat County, District 11. OKFM, every day since the inception of this poor government, there are serious challenges facing our major health centers. The last time JFK workers went on strike, Phoebe complained of lack of government attention. Now the Centimity is demanding Chinese light from patients before being attended to. These challenges are not settled. If it's not settled, Then our president breaking ground for the military hospital. Wow, it should be these challenges if are not settled yet, and the president is breaking grounds for the military hospital. President William, please focus on the small things for now. Later, you will do the big ones. As it relates to the issues of ECC, is very correct. All constitutional issues shouldn't be taken for granted. Now it's by elections. Tomorrow it might be general elections. This government needs to be seriously guided by the organic law of the state. We are not running a dictatorship government. To conclude, let Senator Van Sherman focus on the serious health problem in his county before talking about unnecessary bill. Trust me, OKFM, the motherland will never fall. And it's from George Xavier Namwe of Badnersville. This one says, good morning, OKFM, my fellow and beloved citizens of Motherland and Bone County in particular. Gentlemen, the president needs to seriously and urgently address the issues surrounding the health sector of our country. More besides, why will officials of this pro-poor government who religiously spoke of change that is impacting the lives of the ordinary refuse to address issues of such, but allocate huge budgetary allocations to salaries and benefits and not health, education, and agriculture sectors that are of more importance? OKFM, we've already said the building of the 40 military hospital at the movement is of no importance because the hospital is not the building, but the doctors and equipment that are in those buildings. Moreover, President Weah needs to redirect those fundings to already poorly and unattended government hospitals that urgently needs attention. Finally, President Weah, it's time you address such national concern that has to do with the health of those very masses who overwhelmingly voted you. From Popo Corner in Nimba, this is J. Napoleon McGill. He writes, this one says, good morning, OK News team and the valued listeners and viewers, both home and abroad. OKFM sends the ascendancy of George Weah to the presidency. There has been problems ranging from shortage of drugs, a lack of fuel to power generator, go slow. That's go slow strike action from health doctors, etc. within the health sector. As such, Mr. President, it's about time you speedily investigate to remedy the many problems faced by government health facilities across the country. As for the conduct of the by-elections, I concurred with the ECC. This government deliberately violated our constitution so as to and as such, there shouldn't be any elections at the movement until legal and appropriate action is taken. From the Elfie community on Representative District Number 9, I remain Michael Ting, Positive Bander. Let's now take this development. The House of Representatives has mandated its Judiciary Committee to probe allegations that the Ministry of Foreign Affairs tampered with a law passed by the legislature. The decision was reached after the House's Commerce Committee reported on the stakeholders' engagement for a better legislative oversight investigation. Representing its report, the committee chairman, Representative Samuel Koga, told plenary Thursday that the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, while printing the amended Investment Act into handbills, allegedly tampered with it.
Call your attention to the National Investment Act of 2010, repealing and replacing the Investment Incentive Act of 1973. This act was approved on May 15, 2010, published by Authority Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Monrovia, Liberia, printed July 19, 2010. Now, we observe that there is inconsistency which has to do with ambiguity that will confuse the state. The reason why Ministry of Foreign Affairs is clubbed with the authority to print bills into hand send bills is to disseminate said information to the foreign embassies so that those policies can be sold internationally for those who want to invest in Liberia to know the business climate in Liberia so that they will know how to govern themselves. On the contrary, Mr. Presiding, every law that is passed, there are large portion of it in our constitution that states any law to the contrary notwithstanding. It meaning that all the laws that have been proffered, there is no other laws that passed by the identical portion except the signature of the chief clerk, the secretary of Senate, the vice president, the speaker of the house, and then subsequently the president of the Republic of Liberia.
He is the Commerce Committee Chairman, Representative Samuel Kollie. However, a motion by Representative B.N. Howard encouraged plenary to mandate its Judiciary Committee to look into the allegation of how the law was allegedly tampered with.
A serious allegation against the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and it is not just sufficient for a committee to come out with an allegation of this nature without proof. So I'll have to be convinced to see the actual version of the item that was signed by the President, repealing her bill, and the tampering that took place. But to just say there are some attachment, in my view, it is insufficient.
So is there a motion?
So I'd like to move, if I can, I'll take a second, that let's report continue the allegation or be passed to the Judicial Committee for further examination.
Representative B.N. Howard. Reports from Bone County says a traditional charm allegedly buried in the compound of the Phoebe Community Lutheran High School has been finally removed and burned. The report also states that though the items were dug out by two native doctors on Wednesday, the students are still insisting that the principal and other administrators be replaced. Our Bone County correspondent is Melvin Stewart, and he has been telling us more.
The situation on Phoebe campus has come to a crime currently. That crime came to being yesterday afternoon, after the report given there on the same program, after the administration headed by the principal John F. Kollie and the Dean of Student Services William A.K. Saki and some members of the board went to the home of this native doctor. I stand to be correct. This native doctor resides around the Gulfar region, around Cottington Gate. Had gone to convince him to have come to campus yesterday to unveil this hating stuff that he put in the ground in the name of searching for criminals who took away computers belonging to an individual who had promised to help the school with computers. So this native doctor, according to report, this native doctor who performed this action only have come on the scene of this action, quote unquote, that this would have led to some danger to his life. So he has sent two representatives to unveil this item that he put in this ground in the presence of the police commander in SKT, Chris Gondo, and a private security guy manning the Phoebe hospital as well, and student leadership and ordinary citizens of the Phoebe belt here in Swakoko district.
So Melvin, have they removed the quote-unquote charm that was planted in the school compound?
Yes, they removed the charms from the ground yesterday. I was present, and the entire place got so polluted, my brother, because the charms started to get rotten in the ground. But I could just identify the head of a cat and a rooster that was put together and buried in the ground with some razor blades and other instruments.
Melvin Stewart is our Bone County correspondent. Liberia is expected to join the war on June 5th in commemoration of War Environmental Day. War Environmental Day was established by the UN General Assembly in 1972 on the first day of the Stockholm Conference on the Human Environment, resulting from discussions on the integration of human interactions and environment. 2 years later, in 1974, the first weed was held with the team Only One Earth. Francis Sidhu said the 2018 team seeks to make government, industry, communities and individuals come together and explore sustainable alternatives and urgently reduce the production of single-use of plastic.
Every year, June 5 is set aside to be celebrated as World Environment Day throughout the world. The UN General Assembly established World Environment Day on the first day of the Stockholm Conference on the Human Environment, and that was in 1972. It was also a result from the discussion on the integration of human interaction with the environment. 2 years later, in 1974, the first World Environment Day was celebrated with the theme Only One Earth. 50 years later, in 1987, the idea for rotating the host country for the celebration of World Environment Day began with an international exposition through the week of June 5. And each year, the emphasis on World Environment Day is placed on a specific topic of environmental concern.
Francis Sedu there speaking at the MECAP regular press conference. Let's now take this development. The Speaker of the Liberian Children Parliament has condemned the alleged raping of 2 girls by a 50-year-old man identified as Vanin Boto Kumar in Grand Cape Mount County. The girls between the ages of 10 and 12 years had reportedly left Monrovia to visit their aunt in the county when their uncle allegedly carried out the act. Jutamon Doughton told the station Thursday that the alleged perpetrator committed the act on May 12 and has since escaped to Sierra Leone, leaving the victims in a critical situation at a local hospital.
That we condemn the alleged act of a man in his 50s involvement in raping 2 girls between the age of 10 to 12 years. According to our investigation, the 2 girls left from Stevenson Estate when they left to help their mother in Grand Cape Mount County. While there, their uncle, known as Vanin Boto Kumar, forcefully went out with them. But later, when they returned to Monrovia, that's how it was confirmed by their father through a medical report. The incident took place in Grand Cape Mount County on the 12th of May, but was noticed and reported on the 21st of May 2018. We have gathered that the children are now undergoing treatment by their parents, but sadly, the uncle who allegedly raped the 2 girls have escaped.
Speaker of the Liberian Children Parliament, Jutamon Doughton. Let's now take the last batch of your reaction coming in to our Facebook page. All Liberia, Vanin Chairman, the money that will be used to pay those senators and representatives should be used to provide health care, education, road, etc. See the St. Timothy Hospital in your county. The size of the government is large. We don't need senators and representatives. We should get rid of the House of Senate and save some money for development. Memunswa writes, Good morning, OKFM. Elected officials should resign before contesting for another public office that will enable the government to save money. Thank you. God bless Liberia and the people of Grand Cape Mount County. Lee Roji writes, Good morning, OKFM. I'm appealing to the president to pay attention to health sectors for the well-being of the people he's leading. He needs to equip the hospital that should be then breaking grounds for another health center. Sasami writes, Good morning to the good sons and daughters of one of Liberia's best communities, Soniwen. OKFM, this is one of the reasons I continue to disagree with the president 14-bedroom military hospital that he promised to build. OKFM, all over Liberia, there are numerous challenges government hospitals and clinics continue to face, but the central government continues to ignore those areas. And James Fala writes, Let's now rejoin Augustine Kollie to bring us foreign developments.
Ghanaian President Nana Akufo-Addo says his government is in the process of structuring the Mineral Development Fund Act to address problems facing the mining communities, a situation he described as disgraceful, distressing state of mining communities in the country. According to him, after decades of mining in places like Obuasi, Takwa, and Prestiel, conditions there are not enough to match the amount of gold mined out of the communities. Speaking at the opening of the West African Mines Conference in Ghana, President Akufo-Addo says his government is poised for work to change the status quo of the state of mining in that country. Uganda's parliament has passed a law to impose a controversial tax on people using social media platforms. It imposes a 200 shilling daily levied on people using internet messaging platforms like Facebook, WhatsApp, Viber, and Twitter. President Yoweri Museveni had pushed for the changes, arguing that social media encouraged gossip. The law should come into effect on 1st of July, but there remains doubts about how it will be implemented. The new exercised duty bill would also impose various other taxes, including a 1% levied on the total value of mobile money transactions, which civil society groups complain would affect poorer Ugandans who rely heavily on using banking services. To foreign news.
Augustine Kollie there, bringing us to the end of today's presentation of NewsNet. Before leaving you a recap of stories we closely followed. Health system continues to be heavily challenged under pro-poor government. Report says health workers at the Timothy Government Hospital in Grand Cape Mount County demand purchase of fuel, a small battery-powered Chinese light, before offering service. Uncertainty hangs over conduct of by-elections. A pro-democracy group threatens to challenge the legality of legislative joint resolution for the conduct of the by-elections for Mansurado and Bon counties. Some election losers to win something at all costs. Senator Vernon Sherman makes controversial proposal to Senate that will see presidential runoff becoming senator or representative. And away from Liberia, Uganda's parliament has passed a law to impose a controversial tax on people using social media platforms. We would like to say many thanks to our news director, editor, and many reporters for successfully packaging this edition. Augustine Kollie was here with a news bulletin and later brought to you foreign developments. Eddie Poon inside controls and produces sound. And on behalf of the entire team here at OK Communications Incorporated, I presented Olive Stevenson. Do have yourself a pleasant morning. And for more news on this station, you can log on to www.okfmlr.com. Thanks for watching and listening.